Welcome to Daily Dreamer, the podcast that provides practical tips and insights to help you reach your biggest dreams. Tune in for daily doses of motivation, inspiration, and actionable advice to turn your aspirations into reality. Whether you're looking to find clarity, boost your confidence, or stay on track with your goals, Daily Dreamer is here to guide you every step of the way.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be looking at something kind of unexpected, I guess you could say. Famous failures.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we've got all these articles and YouTube videos about all these people, really successful people.
Right.
Einstein, Oprah, Michael Jordan.
Huge names.
Yeah, but we're not going to focus on their wins.
No,
we're going to be looking at when they stumbled,
Right.
when they got knocked down. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot we can learn from that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we're so used to hearing about the end result.
Right.
The success.
With that highlight reel.
Exactly. And we miss that whole, messy middle part.
Yeah, it's like looking at a finished puzzle. And you're like, oh, wow, that's a cool picture. But you don't see all the pieces.
All the work that went into it.
All the trial and error.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this puzzle, shall we?
Let's do it.
And let's start with, someone whose name is practically synonymous with genius.
Okay.
Albert Einstein.
Einstein, yeah. His journey, I think, is such a good example of how, appearances can be deceiving.
Okay.
This is the man who, revolutionized physics,
Mm-hmm.
changed the way we understand the universe. But he wasn't always seen as, this brilliant mind.
Really?
As a child, he actually had speech difficulties.
Wow.
He struggled academically. He was even expelled from school.
It's hard to believe.
I know, right?
The mind behind E equals MC squared, the guy who helped us understand space and time, had a tough time just finding the right words as a kid.
Wild.
I guess it shows that early struggles don't always predict, future success.
Exactly. And it goes beyond, just those initial hurdles. Think about the scientific community's reaction to his theories. I mean, they were groundbreaking. They were revolutionary.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, straight up rejected them.
Oh, wow.
Or even ridiculed his ideas.
So not only did he have to overcome those personal challenges, but then he also had to deal with professional skepticism and push against,
Established norms.
Yeah.
Totally. He had this incredible ability to question assumptions, to look at the world differently.
Yeah.
And to persist even when other people doubted him.
Right.
And that's a quality we see in a lot of innovators, like Sir James Dyson.
Okay, speaking of Dyson, this is the guy with the bagless vacuum cleaner.
Yes.
But did you know it took him over 5,000 failed prototypes before he got it right?
5,126 to be exact.
It's mind-boggling.
Right.
Imagine the frustration, the self-doubt that must crept in.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. He don't look at those failures as setbacks. He looked at them as data points.
He did.
And I think that's what's so fascinating about him. He wasn't just banging his head against the wall. He was like, okay, it didn't work. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to try again.
Iterative improvement.
Yes, exactly. And it's not just about persistence. It's about using those failures to learn, to continuously improve.
And that spirit of relentless innovation, pushing boundaries, even when people are resisting. That's something we also see in Marie Curie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was a pioneer in radioactivity, but her path was not easy at all.
No, not at all.
Not only was she tackling these complex scientific problems,
Right.
but she was doing it in a world that was not welcoming to women in science.
It's hard to even imagine being a woman in the early 1900s, trying to break into this male-dominated field.
Yeah, the skepticism, she must face the barriers.
It's incredible.
And yet she not only made groundbreaking discoveries, but she became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. And to top it off, she's the only person ever to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields.
Wow.
It's a testament to her brilliance, her determination, her commitment to her work,
Unwavering.
regardless of the obstacles.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen how this theme of pushing through rejection and setbacks plays out in silence. But let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And look at how it impacts the world of business. And I think a great place to start is someone whose name is synonymous with imagination and dreams coming true.
I like where this is going.
Walt Disney.
Walt Disney. Oh, it's fascinating how his early career is a total contrast to the success we all associate with his name.
Right.
His first animation company actually went bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine pouring your heart and soul into this venture and watching it just crumble?
Yeah, that's got to be crushing.
It's a huge blow. And yet he didn't let it define him.
It speaks to the vision that he had, right? He could easily walked away from animation after that, but instead he dusted himself off, learned from his mistakes, and ultimately created this empire. That changed entertainment forever.
And his journey reminds us that sometimes failure, it's like a redirection.
Yeah.
An opportunity to refine your vision.
Yeah.
And come back even stronger.
Right. And speaking of bouncing back from setbacks, how about the story of Harlan Sanders?
Okay, Colonel Sanders.
The colonel behind Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, AFC.
KFC.
I love it.
This is a man who embodies the idea of never giving up.
He does.
His fried chicken recipe was rejected over 1,000 times.
Over 1,000 times, can you imagine? The level of self-belief that must have taken.
I can't even imagine.
Like most people would have given up after the first dozen rejections. Maybe the first 100.
Yeah.
But he saw something in that idea, and he was determined to share it with the world.
He didn't let the rejections define him.
He didn't.
Or diminish his belief in that recipe. He just kept refining his pitch, looking for opportunities, and eventually his persistence paid off.
Powerful lesson. It's not just about having a good idea. It's about having the tenacity to see it through.
Right.
To keep knocking on those doors until one opens. You know, that unwavering belief in yourself, even when you're facing rejection, it's something we see over and over in the people who achieve great things.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of someone else whose path to success was anything but straightforward.
Okay.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, talk about ups and downs. I mean, this is the guy who co-founded Apple, revolutionized personal computing.
Yeah.
And then got ousted from his own company.
Can you imagine the sting of that? Being forced out of the company you built.
It's got to be a blow to the ego.
Yeah, it could shatter anyone's confidence. But what's remarkable about him is that he didn't let that defeat define him.
What did he do?
He went on to found another company, NextT, which was later acquired by Apple.
No way.
Yeah, bringing him right back to the company he started.
Wow. That's a comeback story.
It is.
And it highlights this key element of success, I think.
What's that?
Resilience.
Resilience.
It's not just about bouncing back. It's about using those experiences to learn, to grow, to come back even stronger.
And Jobs' story also shows the importance of reinvention. Like sometimes you have to step back, reassess, find new ways to approach your goals.
Right.
Speaking of reinvention, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
Someone whose story resonates with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
She faced a setback that a lot of us can relate to, getting fired from a job.
And not just any job. She was fired from a news anchor position. I mean, for someone in media, that can feel like career ending.
It can, yeah.
But instead of letting that define her, Oprah used it as an opportunity to create something really unique.
What'd she do?
She built her own platform, her own show, and connected with audiences in a way that nobody had done before.
Yeah, she turned what could have been a career-ending setback into a launch pad for something much bigger.
Right.
Something that redefined daytime television.
It's amazing.
And her story shows the power of rejection. Sometimes those closed doors force you to create your own path, to build something that's truly your own.
Okay, so we've talked about overcoming rejection in science and in business. But what about the creative world, where the stakes can feel even higher?
Yeah, the creative world's full of subjective judgments, unpredictable outcomes.
Right.
Putting your work out there, whether it's a painting, a book, a film, it can feel like you're exposing your soul.
Yeah.
And the fear of rejection can be paralyzing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But even in the midst of all that uncertainty, we see these remarkable stories of resilience and triumph. Like, let's start with someone whose work is celebrated worldwide,
Okay.
but who experienced very little success during his lifetime.
Who are we talking about?
Vincent van Gogh?
Vincent van Gogh. That's a name that evokes both brilliance and struggle.
It does.
This man whose paintings now sell for millions only sold one painting his entire life.
It's a poignant reminder that sometimes true brilliance isn't immediately recognized. It can take time for the world to catch up to a visionary's perspective.
But Van Gogh's story isn't just about, like, posthumous success. It's about that unwavering dedication to your craft, even when the world doesn't understand or appreciate it.
He didn't let the lack of recognition stop him. He kept painting, exploring, experimenting. He created for himself, for the pure joy of it.
Yeah.
And that passion is evident in every brushstroke.
I love that.
His story is like a beacon for all creatives, urging us to create for the love of it, to trust our instincts, to keep expressing ourselves, even when we're faced with indifference or rejection.
And this theme of trusting your gut, even when self-doubt creeps in, well, we see that in the story of Stephen King.
Oh, Stephen King, speaking of. He almost threw away the manuscript for Carrie.
He did.
Wait, seriously? He almost tossed the book that launched his career in the trash.
You know, right? He actually did throw it away. But luckily, his wife rescued it from the wastebasket.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness she did, because Carrie became a bestseller and launched his career.
Wow, makes you wonder, how many masterpieces are out there lost to self-doubt?
Yeah, it's a reminder that even the most successful creatives experience those moments of uncertainty. And sometimes we need someone else to believe in us when we're struggling to believe in ourselves.
Oh, true.
And speaking of persistence, J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling.
The creator of Harry Potter. She's a true inspiration.
It is.
I mean, single mom, living on welfare, facing rejection after rejection from publishers.
Imagine facing all of that and still holding on to that spark, that belief in your story.
It's incredible. She didn't let those rejections define her.
She did.
She kept believing in the magic of Harry Potter. And her determination paid off in a way that few could have imagined.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, when you feel like giving up, there's power within us to create something extraordinary.
I love that.
And that sometimes the biggest successes come after the toughest challenges.
And as we delve deeper into this theme of turning personal struggles into art, there are two more figures whose stories I think are worth exploring.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
First up, Frida Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo.
A Mexican painter whose life was marked by both physical and emotional pain. She dealt with lifelong health issues stemming from polio and a severe bus accident.
Oh, wow.
And her story is just a profound example of turning adversity into art.
She didn't let her pain define her. She channeled it into her work, creating these powerful self-portraits that explored identity, the body, resilience.
And while she gained some recognition during her lifetime, it was really after her death that she achieved global acclaim, becoming a feminist icon and one of the most significant artists of the 20th century.
It's amazing to think about the impact, how she transformed personal suffering into art that continues to resonate with people around the world.
And finally, we have James Cameron.
James Cameron.
The director behind blockbusters like Titanic and Avatar. We all know him for his groundbreaking special effects and epic storytelling.
Yeah.
But his early career wasn't exactly a smooth ride to Hollywood fame.
So what were some of the challenges he faced?
Well, he started out working on low-budget films, facing countless rejections, really having to hustle to get his ideas off the ground. It wasn't until The Terminator, which he both wrote and directed, that he really broke through in Hollywood.
It's a good reminder that even the biggest names in the industry often have to pay their dues, persevere through the early struggles, keep refining their craft until they find their moment.
And Cameron's dedication to innovation is something we can all learn from. He wasn't content with just telling captivating stories. He constantly pushed the boundaries of what was possible.
Right, that drive to innovate, to push those limits. It's a big part of what makes his films so visually stunning.
Absolutely.
And immersive.
Okay, so we've explored all these different failures, from science to art and everything in between, and we've seen how these individuals, despite these incredible challenges, found ways to turn those setbacks into fuel for even greater achievements.
Truly inspiring to see how they transformed what could have been career-ending moments into catalysts for growth and success.
But how do we apply these lessons to our own lives?
Right, that's the question.
What are the common threads that connect these stories, and what can we learn from their experiences?
That's exactly what we'll uncover in our next segment.
Stay tuned as we distill the key takeaways from these journeys and explore how you can use these famous failures to fuel your own path to success.
Looking forward to it. Wow, we've journeyed through a lot of stories
We have.
of setbacks and triumphs.
Yeah, it's amazing to see,
I know.
how these people from such different fields all kind of faced similar challenges.
It's like facing challenges is almost. Universal experience on the path to success.
Absolutely, like those moments where things don't go as planned, they're inevitable.
It's like a rite of passage almost.
Right. And we saw these figures face bankruptcy rejection, even getting ousted from their own companies.
Right, and what's interesting is how they responded, how they turned those setbacks into fuel for growth.
Resilience seems to be a huge factor.
Resilience, yeah.
And it's not just about bouncing back, it's about that deeper ability to adapt, to learn from those experiences and to come out stronger.
Think about Oprah. Getting fired from that news anchor job?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that could have been devastating.
It should have been.
But she didn't just bounce back. She used that experience to fuel her own creative vision, to build something entirely new.
And it wasn't just a matter of like, okay, I'm going to create my own show. She had to really tap into her strengths, connect with her audience, build a platform that reflected her authentic voice.
It shows that resilience isn't just toughness. It's about harnessing those setbacks to fuel creative problem solving and innovation.
And it's so closely tied to this other theme we've seen, which is this belief in yourself.
Yeah, that unwavering belief.
And your vision.
I keep thinking about Colonel Sanders, driving around with that bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
Getting rejected over and over and over again.
It's hard to fathom that level of persistence.
He had to have this unshakable belief in his recipe.
Yeah.
And the value that he was offering to keep going after so many closed doors.
It wasn't just blind faith, though. He knew he had something special.
He did.
And he was determined to find the right audience.
And it makes you think, what's that one thing you believe in so strongly?
Yeah.
That you would be willing to face that kind of rejection?
Yeah.
What's that idea? What's that project? What's that dream that's worth fighting for, even when the world is telling you no?
It's a great question to ask yourself.
It is.
And it speaks to the power of aligning your actions with your deepest convictions, even when the path is uncertain.
And that brings us to another key element that we've seen.
It's just persistence.
I think about J.K. Rowling getting rejected by all those publishers before Harry Potter found a home.
Or James Cameron, working on those low-budget films for years. Before The Terminator.
Yeah, these stories show us that success rarely happens overnight.
It's a process, right?
It is.
It's a journey with twists and turns and detours and roadblocks.
And sometimes it's those obstacles that refine our vision, that push us to innovate and lead us to a destination we might not have imagined otherwise.
But persistence isn't just about blindly pushing forward, is it?
No, it's not.
There's a certain level of self-awareness involved, an ability to learn from those setbacks and adjust your approach.
It's that iterative improvement we saw with Dyson, those 5,000 whatever prototypes. Those weren't failures. Those were data points. Those were opportunities to learn, to refine the design, to create something that ultimately changed an industry.
Yeah, it's like turning failure into a verb.
I like that.
Into a process of experimentation and refinement. And it requires us to let go of the fear of making mistakes.
Embracing the idea that failure is just feedback, valuable information that can guide you to a better solution.
And while we tend to focus on those external markers of success, the awards, the recognition, the financial achievements, it's important to remember that success isn't always about those external validations.
Yeah, it's not always about reaching that grand publicly celebrated goal.
Sometimes success is like a personal and internal journey.
Think about Frida Kahlo. Her art wasn't about achieving fame or recognition. It was a way for her to process her pain, to find meaning in her suffering, to connect with others who might be experiencing similar challenges.
And the connection, that shared humanity, that's a kind of success that goes beyond any external measure.
Absolutely. It's about using your experiences, your struggles, your unique perspective to create something meaningful, something that resonates with others and leaves a positive impact.
It makes me think, how do we define success in our own lives?
That's a good question.
Are we measuring it based on external benchmarks? Or are we looking for that deeper sense of fulfillment, of making a difference?
It's a question worth asking ourselves.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that sometimes the greatest victories are the ones that we achieve within ourselves.
Overcoming those doubts and fears, tapping into our true potential.
So we've talked about resilience, belief, persistence, this idea of redefining success.
But how do we take these stories and turn them into actual steps in our lives?
That's the question.
How do we make these themes into tangible tools for navigating our own challenges?
Great question, and that's exactly what we'll explore in the next segment.
Okay.
We'll look at some strategies, mindset shifts that you can use to harness the power of these famous failures and apply them to your own journey.
We've covered some really inspiring stories, haven't we?
I have so many nuggets of wisdom.
But now comes the fun part, figuring out how to apply these lessons to our own lives.
Right, because it's one thing to be inspired, but it's another to actually integrate these principles into our actions and mindsets.
So let's get practical. Let's say you're working on something, you're chasing a dream, and you hit a wall. Doubt creeps in. You might even feel like giving up.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, first remember, you're not alone. Every single person we talked about today faced those moments of self-doubt, those setbacks that made them question everything.
Yeah, it's like that saying, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Right.
But sometimes you need a little more than just willpower
Absolutely.
to push through.
That's where the power of perspective comes in.
Okay.
So instead of seeing that obstacle as a dead end, try to see it through the lens of like Thomas Edison,
Okay.
who famously said, "I haven't failed.
Uh-huh.
I've just found 10,000 ways. That won't work."
Reframing those failures as data points.
Exactly.
It's like turning your inner critic into a scientist.
Yes. Turn that critic into a curious scientist.
And I think about Stephen King almost throwing away Carrie.
Oh, yeah.
If it weren't for his wife's belief in his work,
Yeah.
that story might never have seen the light of day.
It shows the importance of surrounding yourself with people who champion your dream.
Yeah, who encourage you when
Yeah.
you're doubting yourself.
Sometimes all it takes is one person to say, "I believe in you, keep going."
Yeah, be that person for others.
Yes.
Celebrate their wins, offer support during their struggles.
We all need those cheerleaders in our lives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Creating a network of mutual support and inspiration.
And even when you feel like you're failing, just keep creating.
It's putting your work out there.
Like Van Gogh, painting those incredible masterpieces in relative obscurity.
He didn't let the lack of recognition stop him from expressing his vision.
And sometimes that dedication to your craft, that willingness to keep going even when nobody's watching, that's what leads to those breakthroughs.
It's about trusting your instincts, honoring your creative impulses, and finding joy in the process.
Even when the outcome is uncertain.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into famous failures, here's a question I want you to think about.
Okay.
What's one area where you've been letting fear of failure hold you back?
What's that dream you've been putting off? That project you've been hesitant to start because you're afraid of messing up?
Afraid of not being good enough, of facing rejection.
What if instead of letting those fears paralyze you, you embrace the possibility of stumbling?
Yeah, what if you saw those setbacks as opportunities? For growth, for learning, for refining your approach.
What if you gave yourself permission to try, to fail, and to try again?
Knowing that each step, even the missteps, brings you closer to your goal.
Because as we've seen the path to success, it's rarely a straight line.
It's a journey with twists and turns, and sometimes those detours lead to the most unexpected and rewarding destinations.
So embrace those challenges, learn from your mistakes, and never stop believing in your ability to achieve great things.
You might just surprise yourself.
You will.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, stay curious, my friends.
And keep exploring and